Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. This week's Parsha Mishpatim deals with, as I discussed with you yesterday, laws, civil law, law of torts, of damages, real estate law. It's a very halachic Parsha. However, interspersed in the Parsha are other matters as well. One of the things that really takes notice is that the Torah discusses, almost in passing, the prohibition against Lashon Hara, against evil speech. Not only it discusses it, but it discusses it in context. The next pasuk is Basar Basode Treifa Lo Sochelu. Here's the din of like treifa meat. And then it says Lakelam Tashlichun also. Throw it to the dogs. Throw what to the dogs? So the simple explanation is that we're going to throw the treifa meat to the dogs. We use it for dog food. Since it's not permissible for Jews to eat also besoda treifa, meat that didn't undergo the rigorous laws of kashrus and of shchita. So therefore, you have that meat. What should you do with it? So instead of throwing it in the garbage, give it to the dogs. Chazal say that was in repayment, so to speak, for the dogs not barking on the night of the Seder of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So because of the fact that the dogs were silent and they did not bark, so the Torah makes special mention that we should provide them with dog food. When I was the head of kashrus for the OU, so many of the kosher slaughterhouses disposed of their non-kosher meat to pet food companies. Who, in the United States, at least, it's an enormous business. Millions of pets. And therefore, there are millions of cans of dog food that have to be sold every day. So that was like Kelev Tashlichon also. Throw the non-kosher meat, the treifa meat, to the dogs. So we accomplish two things thereby. We accomplish the fact that the meat doesn't go to waste. And we accomplish the second thing is that the dogs have their reward, so to speak, for their silence during the night of Makas B'choros. But the Gemara stretches it even further. The Gemara says, so throw it to the dogs, refers to Jews that speak Lashon Hara, Jews that engage in evil speech, so they are worthy of being thrown to the dogs. Now, if we think about it, I mean, there are a lot of Isurim in the Torah. There are a lot of severe Isurim in the Torah. There are a lot of what we would call cardinal sins. There even are 3 sins that are Yarag Val Yavor. Person has to be willing to sacrifice one's life and not violate them. And by none of them does it say they should be thrown to the dogs. Yet, the Gemara says that Lakelet Tashlichan also refers to the fact that the people who said Lashon Hara, who speak in that fashion, they should be thrown to the dogs. The Chafetz Chaim points out in this famous sefer regarding Lashon Hara that apparently Lashon Hara is far, far more serious and severe than people take it to be. People say, what did I do? I spoke about someone. Didn't do anything. The Chofetz Chaim points out that there are 36 Averos that are attached to speaking Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara is like an avalanche. It looks like one stone is falling, but when that stone is beginning to fall, and then half the mountain is coming down with it. It may take a few minutes or a few hours or a few days or a few years, but that's an inevitable result. And therefore the Torah wants to emphasize to us how serious we should take this idea about speech, because the result is like Elef Tashlichan also. That the person is worthy of being thrown to the dogs. The Gemara discusses about Achav and Izebel, the wicked king and queen of Israel at the time of Eliyahu Hanavi. So the Tanakh describes that they were assassinated and their bodies were wild dogs ate it. Because they spoke Lashon Hara. So here, people who were idolaters, but they spoke Lashon Hara against Eliyahu Hanavi. They spoke Lashon Hara against Lashon Hara is against the God of Israel, because it's the God of Israel that gives us the ability to speak. It says, Vayipach be'apov, God injected within us Ruach Chaim, life. And that was always interpreted is that the difference between the animal kingdom and human beings is the power of speech. Communication, it's a godly gift. It's a unique gift to us. The parable would be that if I gave you a precious painting that's worth millions on the market, and you took that painting and you used it to wrap up the fish that you ate yesterday. How would the person who gave you the painting feel about that? To him, that would be an unforgivable crime. Not only did you not use the painting for the purpose for which it was given, but you desecrated it. So that's the power of speech. And Lashon Hara is all pervasive. That's the problem, because we all, since it's speech, and we're always engaged in speech, so it's very hard to avoid it. So Chazal said, Ruben Begezel. Most people end up having money that's really not theirs. Muton by Arroyos. Minority of people sinned physically, morally, sexually. But for Kulon Be'avak Loshen Hara. But everyone is at least covered with the dust of Loshen Hara. And Loshen Hara comes in different sizes and forms. The Meraglim, for instance, were punished, the spies, because they spoke Loshen Hara about Eretz Yisrael. How's Eretz Yisrael as the earth responds? It knows that you spoke Lashon Hara about it. The victim need not know. The victim may be unresponsive. You can speak Lashon Hara, God forbid, about someone that's, God forbid, in a coma. And therefore, speech is to be guarded. It is to be measured. Part of the reason why Chazal always emphasized that silence is a virtue. Mila b'sela, shtika betray. Words are worth a sela, they're worth a silver coin each. But silence is worth 2 coins. And one can be guilty of Lashon Hara silently also. Somebody says something about somebody else and you make a motion. You didn't say anything. That's enough. You winked an eye. And that's why Chazal said, Kulam be'avak Lashon Hara. You can't say that this is Lashon Hara because he didn't say anything. But it's the dust of Lashon Hara. And there are many victims to Lashon Hara. The one who speaks it, the one about whom it is spoken, the one who hears it, society generally. Unfortunately, in our society, we are inundated by Lashon Hara. So we don't even think about it anymore. It's called investigative reporting. You can write about ideas, you can disagree with them, about policies, about behavior. But when you identify people and you associate them with your criticism, then you're already treading on dangerous ground. The Chafetz Chaim writes in his Sefer, the Shmiras HaLashon, remarkable statement. He says, it's been 40 years since I spoke Lashon Hara. And it's 20 years since I've heard it, Lashon Hara. So apparently, it takes 20 years of not speaking Lashon Hara to make you immune so that you don't hear Lashon Hara. It's like the first shot and the second shot, right? The second shot's supposed to make you immune. But time has to pass until you become immune. So in the Parsha Mishpatim that has so many halachas in it, about avodim, servants, and all sorts of legalities and judgments and courts, etc. Lying hidden as a treasure in the midst of it is how to be careful about speech, how not to make the dogs want to eat you. It's a very powerful message. And it's something that's a continual challenge every day. We always speak, we always talk. So it's never too late not to talk, so to speak. Certainly never too late to talk carefully. So I want to thank you all for listening, and I hope that you all stay well and continue to do so. And I hope the shul opens this week in Mirz Hashem. We're working on it. And that everybody should be vaccinated and healthy and cold tube seller. Thank you.